Hi, my name is Kayla, and welcome to my channel. Um, Welcome to Self-Love Synergy. The title of this video is something going to be on the lines of what's the most important lesson I learned in my spiritual awakening that I'm still going through to this very day. Let me tell you a little bit about it. Actually, the most important lesson was self-love. We have to love ourselves. We don't have to, but if we were to choose to love ourselves, then it will improve our lives drastically. It would allow us to be able to co-create with life itself a life of abundance, well-being, and prosperity. Because within my spiritual awakening, I've come to understand that God or the universe or Allah or consciousness or life itself or nothing even had an intention for life, and that is for all to grow and prosper. And in human translation, for me, it is to have a life of abundance, well-being, and prosperity. Yeah. And that means that you are a success in every aspect of your life, in relationships, in love, in your job or career, in health, in finances, in relationships with family and friends. Everything prospers. Everything's enriched. Everything is at high value. Yeah, and everyone can do it, no matter where you start in life. Because right now, I'm starting from being, a recovering hot mess. I'm in recovery right now. I'm in the process of it because I had to deal with 3 major betrayals in my love life. My first boyfriend, first love, high school sweetheart, he betrayed me and he left me when I was in college for a grade 9. And that was that. End of discussion. He never talked to me again. Actually, he saw me one time after that. He asked for a ride home. I gave him a ride home, and then he gave me this big kiss before he got out of my car, which left me totally confused because the last time I checked, I meant nothing to him. I mean, it was just, he told me about the grade 9, I think he told me, or somebody else told me, and then he never answered my phone calls ever again. And I would be calling every day for months. And at that time, I didn't have a home phone because of a situation with my father in a phone company. And we didn't have a home phone for a period of time. That time. So I had to walk down the street every day to a phone booth, to a payphone. And I would cry in that payphone, and I would call, and it didn't matter if it was raining outside. It didn't matter. I just wanted to know. I needed to know why. Why did you break up with me? Why did you, choose another woman over me? How come I wasn't good enough? I just had to know. But he never told me. He didn't give me any closure. And for 7 years, I blamed myself because I had a little thing that came with me from childhood, which was I always had temper tantrums. I did not know how to communicate when I felt scared, when I felt anxiety. I didn't even know what anxiety was until I got older. At that time in my life, I just thought when I was tripping, my nerves, my blood would boil when I got angry, when I got frustrated, when I felt like I was inferior, when I felt like I had to defend myself. My voice would get loud and louder, loud. And I started talking what I thought was truth, my truth about me, my truth about you, and my truth about the situation. And I would come from a high level, and I wouldn't let anybody else's opinion, enter into my head. I would just be steamrolling what I believed, and that was that, and in a very loud voice. and it triggered a lot of people. It probably caused trauma to a lot of people. However, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. I thought I was doing the wrath of God, actually. But I didn't think I was doing anything wrong because I wasn't using curse words, or I wasn't being, derogatory with what I was saying. I always spoke with truth. It was just in a loud tone, and I didn't understand why it mattered. I came from two different families that were big. My father had 12 siblings and my mother had 13. My father's side, they were religious. They went to church, very religious. My grandfather was a preacher man, and he was an authentic preacher man. There was no drinking, no smoking, no cursing, no partying. It was all about creativity and growth, basically. And yeah, and he also never took a salary from the church. And he preached for 50 years. He never took one red penny for it. It was his gift. He loved the Lord. He had to spread the good news. I used to just admire him and his faith so much. I remember when I was younger, when church ended, a lot of the times I went downstairs and ate, had some sweets. And I would stay upstairs and I would sneak behind that pulpit after hearing my grandfather, because we'd come in on a Sunday, 9 o'clock in the morning, and church wasn't over until 4 o'clock that afternoon. My grandfather would preach. You hear me? Preach. And he would get excited and emotional, and I just would feel that energy, and I just felt like I was a preacher too. And I would go there and I would pretend that I was him and I was preaching, and but I would always ask God, I wish I had the same faith as my grandfather. Because on the other side of my family, my mother had 13 siblings in her family, and they didn't go to church like how my father's side of the family went to church. They went to church when they were younger, but when they were adults, they did a lot of partying. They liked to feed people. They liked to fellowship. They they were good around the community. Everybody knew them. My grandmother, she was a good cook. Everybody knew her cooking. My mother, she's a good cook. Everybody knows her cooking, and everyone was always welcome, always welcome. And we'd have smiles and laughs and just lots of fun, getting tore up, having lots of fun. And I used to always think that through the blood of the family, just being part of the family, I was accepted by so many people because, those were just their siblings. They also had aunts and uncles and cousins. I had a huge family, huge family. So on one side, there would be all these people would just accept me because I was, who I was, I was family. And the other side, they would accept me too. However, it seemed as though, you got a little bit more goodness or more favoritism or just more attention if you went to church. And, it was through the blood of Christ. That's where, the real family was. But, so it caused a lot of spiritual warfare in me growing up. And yeah, so let me get back on topic. Self-love synergy. And my spiritual awakening. It was so big. It's so big, it covers everything. I think I said that earlier. Yeah, and because it covered everything, I didn't know how to start my first video. And I knew I wasn't an expert. I'm not an expert. I'm just telling you lessons that I've learned and spiritual understanding that I believe I somehow got from God or the universe. I put out an ultimatum, and yeah, I got answered. And I just want to share it with all of you. So the way that I'm going to start it in this video is to talk about where I'm at right now. Where I'm at right now is I'm trying to move on from betrayal. Yeah, did I already say that? I've been doing so many videos today. I'm not sure if I mentioned it or not. I think I did mention it, the first one, which was the high school betrayal. And I blame myself. Yeah, because I started talking about the temper tantrums. And that's what I always thought. It was me, my blowing up, my mouth. That's why he doesn't want me, you know? Whatever. I was just crazy. And he was my first, the first man I ever had sex with. And so I thought we were married. In my mind, we had to stay together because of my religious upbringing. Like, I had to marry him. And so when he broke up with me, it was just too much. I couldn't take it. No, you can't. There's never gonna be another man. No, no, no. It was the end of the world for me. All I did was think about how I messed it up with me and my mouth, and why couldn't I just not have such a mouth, not have these outbursts of yelling and screaming. Anyway, I meet the second person who I said I loved, and he's the father of my first son. And he lived 3.5 hours north of my hometown. He had come into my city for the weekend for some Caribbean festival, and I was at the river writing in a journal, and all of a sudden he popped up and asked, where is a good place to have some breakfast. And he was in a car with four other guys, and then there was another car filled with 5 guys. I mean, these men were good looking. And I was like, what is going on here? I had 7 years of a dry spell, and all of a sudden there's 10 men. And then he's like, do you want to go to breakfast with us? And I was like, sure. I had my own car. Shoot. Sorry. And yeah, I met him, and he asked me I ended up getting pregnant real quick in that relationship. And again, had sex with a man, so I thought we had to be together. You my husband now. And I got pregnant too. And so he asked me to come and live with him 3.5 hours away. And I was like, living in sin? I can't live in sin. I'm going to go to hell if I live in sin. And he's like, come on. That's so old fashioned. Please, you're having my baby. Come on, come and live with me. I was like, okay. Silly, stupid. Went against my beliefs, went against my boundaries, went against everything, and created an incredible fear of going to hell. And I already had that fear because when I had the first breakup, another thing happened to me where my grandmother, who was a church grandmother, she passed away. And I had a real hard problem with that. And I started drinking. And I started smoking weed. And I started smoking in the first relationship because the boyfriend at the time wanted me to smoke for some reason. He told me to smoke, and because he wanted me to. And I stupidly obeyed him. And then when I started smoking cigarettes, I would walk down alleys and walk, all by myself. And I started talking to myself and thinking and starting, I don't know, got high off of it or something. I started enjoying it. So I became a smoker. Never thought that I would, but I did because he told me to. Silly. And that's one thing that I have to get rid of. I'm still smoking to this day, and I hate it. I hate it. It is the guilt that I have of it, the worry, the fear of catching cancer. I mean, it's just demonic. I have to get it off my back. And hopefully, through this channel, through applying my knowledge and my understanding for my spiritual awakening, hopefully I'll be a non-smoker real soon. Fingers crossed. And if I can do it, you can do it. Well, yes, because we all deserve that life of abundance, well-being, and prosperity. We just got to want it, and go after it. So the second boyfriend, I was still yelling in that, and I had all these extra fears on me. And I thought I was going to be a housewife, but apparently, 1 month after I got here, he asked me, when am I going to go get a job? What do you mean? I thought you were going to take care of me. I thought I was going to be your wife. No, that wasn't the plan. The plan was for me to go get a job. And I did. And I became, everything was in my name. He actually moved in with me. I got the apartment. I was working. I had the credit. He might have had some credit or whatever, but he wasn't letting me know that. He was looking at other women because he had told me that he didn't like me yelling in front of his friends. I guess I was demasculating. I didn't know it at the time. I'm just real. When I get loud, I just thought that's just me being real and being honest. Like, if you love me, you got to love me through the good and the bad. You got to love me, all of me. And this is part of me. But no, he was serious, boy. And one day he came home from the gym. Well, he was acting kind of funny. You know, patterns started changing. And then I asked him, "Did you meet someone else?" And he told me straight off the bat, "Yes, and I'm going to be with her. And I could either stay here or at the end of summer, I'll move out. It's up to you." I was like, "What?" When I called my dad, was like, "Oh, you tell him to pack his bags. He got to go." So I listened to my daddy and packed all his bags and off he went. However, I was angry because he was the father of my child. And I thought, no, you can't leave me, you know. And the woman, she sided with him. It seemed like when the first one, I didn't really understand what their dynamic was because he never spoke to me again. But the second one, he and his woman, he picked a woman who listened to him, who sided with him. These women got attached to a man, was like, "That's my man." And all of a sudden, it was two against me. And they loved to speak on my habits, my drinking, my smoking, and my mouth, and made me feel like crap. Okay? Yeah, so that was kind of tough. It took like 10 years for me to stop being angry at him. When I hang on to a grudge, I hang on to one. And anyway, within the first 8 months of him leaving, that's when I met the third love. And he's the father of my second child, my youngest child. He came in like Casanova, is that the name? Or, Gigolo or whatever. He just came in. He was Filipino, and, he'd be calling me Mahal, and he'd open my doors. And when I went into the car, he would share food. He'd rub my feet. He would do everything. He would fix anything that was broken. He had all this energy. He was loving. He was kind. He was sweet. He was soft-spoken. But he had a secret. And I didn't know that he had a secret addiction. And a lot of things didn't add up. He was always late for everything. I always thought that there was a mistranslation because, he had a strong accent. And that was one of his ways of getting out of lies, because he would act as though he didn't understand what I asked him to do, or he didn't understand. And I just figured, I guess he didn't understand. However, I learned 24 years later, oh yeah, he understood. He was hiding a secret. He was very manipulative. He was a liar. Oh, Lord. But at any rate, I didn't know that. And we had 17 years together, and he stayed with me, through all that yelling and screaming. And I figured he really loved me. He was the one who loved me. He was my man. He was my husband. We weren't married, but in my mind, we definitely were married. We had a child, and we've been together for 17 years. And then he cheated on me, and we were living together. And he played it off like it was a mistake, and he was so sorry, and blah, 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 blah. And I believed him, and I let him come back because I thought I needed him and his finances at the time, and I couldn't make it without him, so he had to come back. But I was seeing him getting all dressed up and looking all good, and then leaving the house. He would always be leaving, and then as soon as he left, he wouldn't answer my calls. He wouldn't answer my texts. Ghosted me. But at that time, I didn't know what ghosted was, but that's what he was doing. And at that time, I found out about his secret addiction. And so when he would do that ghosting, I would call him missing in action. And I would be speaking to people who were in relationships with, people who had addictions, and they would say, oh yeah, he's on a binge. That's what they do. They go and they disappear for a couple days and then they come back. And so I just thought it was part of the addiction. I don't know. I was silly. I was naive. I was very naive and just believed him. Or I wanted to believe so much that he loved me and he was telling me the truth. And I was just, misunderstanding, or only if I was more patient, or, that's me and my big mouth, and I was judgmental and I was critical and I criticized, I did a lot of things wrong. So anyway, he ended up leaving me. And this just recently happened, and I really was hurt. I put so many years, and I thought that he would. He didn't leave me at that time with that first fling. He ended up coming back, and then she ended up passing away in 2020. And I thought, oh, he's going to come back and he's going to mend things and I'm his one and only again. But no, that didn't happen. His mama thought it was a good idea to move him out of my house because she thought that I was taking all his money, but I wasn't taking all his money. He was, addicted to a substance that was taking all his money. And so she moved him out and had him move in with his brother. And I was really angry about that, felt betrayed about that. However, he would come around and he would do that love bombing thing, and he would talk to me sweet and gentle and kind and did whatever I wanted and built me things and fixed so many things that, I just thought, well, maybe it's a good thing for him to be out of the house, because then I could have my own space back and I could do my own thing and I don't have to worry about him, and maybe we can start to date and start to have a romance again and fall in love again, and maybe he would start to do different things and he would stop, his addiction. No, that didn't happen. He ended up moving a woman in and got her pregnant within a month. This is 2 years after he was living with his brother. And broke up with me in a text message at 4 a.m, sent me a text message and said, hi, by the way, I'm in love with somebody else. Okay, have a nice day. He didn't say have a nice day, but he might as well have. Yeah, so that really crushed my ego. And so now, I got to the point where I was so angry. I had so much hate, so much resentment, so much, I was almost cursing him. And I just said, Lord, please, you got to get me out of this. I got to get out of this, And yeah, so it was put on my heart what I needed to do. What I need to do is get on YouTube and start speaking about this spiritual awakening and start speaking about self-love synergy, because it's the answer. It's the answer to everything. And it may sound sweet, but in order to have self-love, you have to do something which is called shadow work within yourself. And that means you have to look at certain aspects about yourself that you don't like and that other people don't like, or that you may think is a weakness, or just something that you don't want to look at. You do not want to look at or try to investigate anything about that, about you. But you have to. You have to, in order to get a greater understanding of yourself. And once you understand, you can have forgiveness, because we all work in a certain way. It's all about beliefs, conditions, beliefs, our mental, our minds, our mindset. If we come from a poverty, lack mindset, then we are going to experience poverty and lack in our everyday lives. If we come from a negative, critical mindset of ourselves and a feeling of unworthiness, then we're going to come across as unworthy people, and people are going to treat us in an unworthy, as if we are unworthy. So we can't really get mad at them. The changes has to come within us. Yes, it's a beautiful thing. But you really do have to look at both sides. You cannot pick a side. You have to stay neutral and you get that understanding about yourself so that you can get that self-forgiveness. What else? Oh, no, not that. Yeah, about the betrayal. You know, it was not only my yelling and screaming, but I had hidden beliefs and hidden fears within me. Hidden beliefs were that I used to think that a happy wife meant a happy life. So I thought that men were supposed to make their wives happy. And I didn't think that men had emotions. I thought men were supposed to go to work and provide, make a good living, and bring home that bacon so that, mama can fry it up in a pan. At least that's how my mama and daddy did it. And I also had a belief that the man who I was supposed to be with and marry was supposed to be like my father, a loyal, successful, hardworking family man who even brought recreational activities to his children and brought us on trips and had family vacations. And, he was giving and he was good to his family and to his mother and his father. Beautiful, beautiful man. However, he had a negative mindset. And it was kind of tough, And for me, I learned to be in agreement with him a lot because I did not like that negative mindset and reactions to attack me when I stood up for myself, or if I had my own way of thinking or my own thoughts and my thoughts were in disagreement with his thoughts. That wasn't good. He would say something, and then me and my mouth would say something back. And if I was drinking, because a lot of times we had a long distance relationship over the phone because I had moved 3.5 hours away. And so I would be sitting up there getting drunk, talking to him. That always put me in a good mood. And I'd be like, yeah, daddy, yeah, yep, daddy, yeah, you right, daddy. But, if it went a little weird and I end up saying something that he didn't like, and then he said something I didn't like, and oh my goodness, we'd hang up on each other. I'd call back, say sorry. Sometimes he called back and said sorry. So we did grow and evolve with one another. We really did in the end. We had like a 20-year relationship over the phone, and like the last 4 to 5 years of our relationship, we were in agreement with most things, and I didn't have to hide my truth. He allowed me to speak my truth, and he actually started to understand my truth. And so that's why now it's time for me to speak my truth to others, because if I could gain understanding through him and his negative mindset, then shoot, I could probably get through to you. Even if you have only half that mindset, that negative mindset as him. Yeah, because I'm speaking something that really resonates with truth within your own self. You don't have to believe me. You just have to resonate with me, and keep on watching, keep on gaining understanding, because I'm telling you, I'm going to be dropping jewels to help you understand things that you were probably in search of, trying to understand for many years of your life. I'm going to help you understand it just like that. Yes, call me the self-love synergist, the catalyst to awaken humanity up to a new world order where every individual is co-creating with life itself, with the creator of life itself, a life of abundance, well-being, and prosperity for all, not just for yourself, for all. It's a beautiful thing. It's my Martin Luther King dream. One day there shall be a human race, a humanity that will walk the face of this earth where everyone will be living a life of abundance, well-being, and prosperity. But we have to start it off in our generation. We really do. We have a lot of saving to do, saving ourselves and saving our children and saving God. believe it or not. I know you're probably like, what do you mean saving God? I mean, all is one. And if one of us is out of alignment, then the all is out of alignment. So that's why we have to, you know, understand this self-love synergy, so that if we are, which I truly believe, a cell within the oneness of God, we need to make our cell healthy and whole and able to regenerate itself over and over again. Everlasting life. That's the name of the game, baby. And all of us must do it. So the greater one, the one, will be in health and in abundance, well-being, and prosperity. Anyway, I don't know, we're going to get into that, but you understand what I'm saying? I'm going a little bit, getting a little excited. Yeah, and I'm kind of off topic, so I think maybe I might have to end it here. Yeah, so if you want to learn more, I'm going to break it down in different subjects, for each video, and talk about it. And hopefully, over time, you'll start to understand. I'll start to understand, I'll tell you what I'm doing, how I'm changing my life in little ways, so that I can be co-creating and creating that life of abundance, well-being, and prosperity for me. Because another thing is, there's legacies we must leave behind. There's self-preservation. There's saving our children. There's saving our environment. It is all a part of this spiritual understanding, this spiritual awakening. And self-love synergy is the center, the key in making it all happen. Anyway, I hope you're excited. I hope you come back. And if you like, I'm a new channel. If you like to subscribe, that would really help me out. That'll help me out to my road of prosperity. And if you like the video, you can even, give it a like. But that's up to you. All I want you to know is I just want you to come back. And I want you to become a part of my family, my tribe, because I want us all to learn from each other, because I don't know everything. And I'm just going to teach you what I know and come to understand through my life lessons. However, I'm a student of all, and I do get into my ego without knowing it. And I'll talk all about that in another video. And so, if you got to check me and say, hey girl, that don't make no sense, then check me. Tell me it doesn't make any sense. And, as long as you do it in a kind way, then I'll listen. And maybe we can, think of it in a different way, where we can have a brand new understanding, Because let me kind of end it with this, when it comes to ideas and thoughts, an idea is the only thing that you can exchange with another person, and you come up with two instead of one. Think of it. Like if I had $1 and you had $1, and we exchanged those dollars, then I would have your dollar and you would have my dollar, and we would still only have $1. Now, if I had an idea and you had an idea, and we exchanged those ideas, then I get to walk away with 2 ideas, and you get to walk away with 2 ideas. And if we exchange again, then we can create even a 3rd idea by putting them together. Consciousness multiplies magically. Oh, there's magic in life. Oh, there's magic in life, and I cannot wait to get into it with you. It's going to be entertaining, and it's going to be educational. You're going to learn, you're going to grow, you're going to prosper. You can't lose. All right, so come on back now. You hear? Anyway, you have a great night. It's nighttime here, so you have a great night, and I'll have one too.